appears displeased. And then we've got a lawyer pro tip when Johnny Depp's lawyer comes back from the BC after Rottenborn objects and says to the witness, please continue immediately after getting back to the podium. It's the best way to let the jury know that you've won the objection without telling them that you've won the objection.
Right.
BC is bench conference for anybody that was wondering. When JD says that he personally knows WB and spoke to 3 top execs, and after that Amber Heard got the role, number 1 is writing stuff down. When Johnny says, sorry, that was extra, I think it was like garnish or something, towards Rottenborn on the stand, number 9 is seen laughing.
Is that the residue comment? Was that the residue?
Yeah, it's the residue. Yeah, it's the residue comment. So he says number 9 is seen laughing. And I don't know, Ian might not be around. I think 9/I is the one that everybody that we know has reported as being essentially done and in the bag for Johnny here.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ian. When Johnny testifies that he never took 8 to 10 pills of MDMA, every single juror is writing stuff down. After Johnny says that he did not take a sentence of MDMA, I think it's just getting garbled a little, and a question comes in of why not, and he answers he would die. The whole gallery chuckles. I assume it's that big section of MDMA. When JD testifies that there was no phone on the wall in the photo, Whitney clears her throat. Real quick comment and noticeable difference between Amber Heard's and Johnny Depp's testimony is that he doesn't stare down the jury. He looks at the floor or at the table. Today, he grabbed a tissue to wipe something off the table. When Johnny says he miss it, talking about the missing tip of his finger, numbers 2, 8, and 9 chuckle. I look at my notes. I realize I completely lost track of time watching Johnny Depp's testimony and did not take a single note in 15 minutes or so. Then he's got a picture of Whitney Heard. We'll do one quick refresh and see what else he's got here. After Rottenborn objects to something Johnny was saying, and Johnny replies with, is that better? Number 6 nods, challenging at Rottenborn. Number 9 smirks.
Okay.
When Johnny addresses the Kate Moss testimony, number 6 confidently, that's all we got. Number 9 smirks. Number 8 smiles. Whitney shifts uncomfortably. That's it. He's still updating because he's out in the courtyard, I think. But that's what we've got so far.
Hey, Colonel Kurtz.
Hey, what's up? How are y'all doing?
Good.
Doing all right.
Cool.
Doing all right. So we're going through DUI guys' tweets.
Oh, okay, great.
But did you finish going through them?
Yeah, they're up to speed right now. He's doing one every 30 seconds or so, so you'll have 5 more in like 2 minutes.
I didn't hear. I missed that. Were there any big insights or observations?
I think broadly he says that they were listening intently when Hillary was direct and redirect. Not
Sorry.
Oh, what was that?
It's okay. She
Sounded
just
like
Amber Heard has joined the chat.
It seems like that to me sounds very indicative of a pet walking across a microphone.
Okay.
I'd like to be able to blame that on my cat, but I don't know what happened. I think I had a window open that just suddenly something came on. Anyway,
Sure.
Sorry about that.
I assumed
No
it was
worries.
Marilyn Manson. It's no worries.
Tennessee, thank you very much for your super chat. It says if she didn't leak it, why would the AH team care? That's a good question.
Well, one of the reasons is a tabloid like TMZ and people who work for TMZ are often trying to look for angles in. This is true of every journalist. I'm not speaking of tabloids here. But if for some reason they thought that this person was going to lie on the stand or speak, or say things that would impugn Amber that they believe aren't to be true, they have reason that they still think the jury would believe that testimony. Now, do I think that's the case? No, but I think that that's a reasonable argument for why, even if you didn't leak it, why you wouldn't want to hear from someone who you feel might potentially say they leaked it.
All right.
But yeah, and all I was saying on the tweets that we saw is they were paying more attention to Dr. Curry's direct and redirect rather than the cross, and everybody was intently following Johnny Depp. Mostly.
Yeah.
And a lot of chuckling from like 2, 6, and 9.
Yeah.
All right, Ingrid Johanna says Amber Heard went from resting B face to actively smiling and smirking now. The behavior does not look good. I don't think that's helping her.
No.
Smirking is just really, I mean, you would think that would be a basic thing that her lawyers would tell her, or maybe they are telling her, I guess, not to do it. But I screen recorded one particular point and put it on Twitter where Johnny Depp was talking about her abuse of her sister. And that's when the smirking was the worst. He was talking about her beating up her sister or whatever. And she's just smirking like that. So bad.
Agreed.
I was very uncomfortable.
I'm sure she's been told she really feels like an out of control client.
Really? I mean, that's not surprising, I guess.
I mean, she's now sitting between lawyers as opposed to on her own by the exit.
I've decided I don't want her as a client anymore. I can't deal with this.
I don't know. I could still go for the $6 million.
I think that I can't imagine with her personality, I can't imagine what kind of abuse, verbal abuse or criticism her lawyers are getting. I would think that because lawyers, you take the brunt of it anyway, right? I mean, if a client is angry, then is that pretty common for lawyers to get attacked by their clients?
Okay.
Yeah.
How honest do you want us to be?
I would think so. I don't know. I would think that happened a lot.
I think
it's not hard for people to get mad at the lawyers.
Yeah, and I think we mostly agree here that the tactics that Amber Heard's team has been taking are ones that we might not have taken if we were in control of the case, and we kind of assume competency and that sort of level of professionalism from the other team. So I think we've mostly deduced we kind of feel that Amber is the things that are going on that we don't agree with. Amber has probably been strongly advocating to do, which in my mind goes to your point that I think you might be onto something here. That Amber might be, anyway.
Let's get some more super chats here. Christy Connolly says, question, not sure if it's been asked. What if former TMZ employee that is testifying pulls out last minute at the threat of potentially getting sued by TMZ? Could that happen?
Sure.
It could happen.
If he's there voluntarily, yep. And I mean, they could say to him, hey, listen, you've got the privilege and you've got a non-disclosure agreement. You got to think about that.
I think the attorney might be having a word with that client right about now. I would like to point out that technically qualifies as witness intimidation at this point, so there could be fun there too.
Yep, it's a very difficult. That's the sort of thing I would want to talk to a practice advisor before I tackled.
Yeah.
And just say, here's my problem. How do I deal with this without losing my,
Call the ethics hotline real fast. How do I deal with this problem?
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Helena Morton says, question, have any of you seen the alleged photos on Twitter of the perjury report that Waldman made with the LAPD against Amber? Didn't her team say no such evidence existed? Am I falling for rumors? No, I have. My understanding is that those are real.
I don't think Amber Heard's team contested that the perjury complaint was real. I think they're just testifying the basis for it was not real.
I think Rottenborn actually said that did not exist.
Yeah, there's
something
maybe
in open court. Yeah, that's my understanding. So it is interesting that gets sprinkled around the internet.
So, would they have an obligation to correct the record if they've made that representation and they discover that in fact they were wrong?
I mean, they've made other misrepresentations on the record.
What's one more between friends?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's what I would hope for if we were talking about attorneys that have a strong backbone, a strong moral fiber. That's what I would hope for, because that shows character. But I don't know. Sam Johnson says, question, can AH lawyers ask her if she sent a video to TMZ? Or do they want plausible deniability and will never ask?
They could ask. But yeah, do you want to ask that question? Because probably didn't ask that question. Don't ask questions you don't want the answer to is always good advice.
Yeah. But there is also such a thing as willful ignorance. Sandra Ramirez says, do you think WH is the TMZ source and that's why they didn't use the JH statement? No. Because even if Whitney is the source, she had to have gotten it from Amber. But I don't see how that relates to the statement by Jennifer Howell, unless I'm missing something.
I don't see it either.
Yeah. Sneet Snert says, y'all inspired me to go into law. I do practice LSATs while watching these. LOL. I'll be moving back to CAD. Any CAD specific law school advice, Runkle? Oh, is Runkle here for this one?
I am. I'm here.
Oh, good.
The LSAT is a brutal series of logic puzzles, and study the heck out of it. I used to teach the LSAT. I did quite well on it, although it's considered fairly gauche for lawyers to brag about a specific score. But keep in mind, the LSAT tests logical ability, not what you know. So that for the reading comprehension, they will intentionally try to trick you up by getting things wrong. And they try to cover a variety of subjects. It's often a bad day if you actually get something where you know about the subject matter of the reading comprehension thing, because they will try to trick you with that. For the logic stuff, for every aspect of it, you should be, before you tackle the questions, you should be thinking about the sort of the prompt, so the question stem or the game itself, and doing a lot of pre-thinking about it. And ideally, you should have thought of a lot of answers before you get to the actual questions. Lots of people want to tackle the LSAT by sort of looking at the answers and then sort of trying to apply them to the question. That is exactly wrong. It's the wrong way to go about it. So the LSAT isn't insurmountable. It's very difficult, and there's a whole lot of stuff there, but it's also very learnable. So I'd say take the time, practice it, and if you get good, it is quite possible to improve your score quite noticeably on the LSAT.
I want to say something while the topic of law school is brought up. So I mentioned this on Twitter, but so I'm not a lawyer, never went to law school. I was an English professor for a while, and right now I'm doing YouTube. But when I was in my 20s, my whole family, they wanted me to go to law school. Everyone wanted a lawyer in the family, especially my grandparents, had never been to college. And back then, law school, it was considered to be like the golden ticket. I think it's gotten tougher nowadays, but back then it was like, if you were a lawyer, you just knew you were going to rake in the dough, or at least that was the opinion. So anyway, so I disappointed everybody. I didn't go to law school. Instead, I went to, grad school for English to become an English teacher, which was not everyone's dream for me. So I'm saying that because my mom has been so thrilled that I have been on this program, and she's so thrilled that I'm getting mentioned as a part of LawTube, even though I'm not a lawyer. And so anyway, but the other day after I was on your show, she was like, "I'm just so proud of you. You're just holding your own with those lawyers." And I am. But
Yep.
I thought that was really sweet. So I just wanted to thank you for having me on.
Of course.
Oh,
of course. And she's absolutely right. Your mom has every reason to be proud of you. You are holding your own with a bunch of sharks swimming around on stream. But no, absolutely. I think you've been doing a fantastic job, and there's a reason why I keep inviting you back every day. I love having you on, and I love the value that you bring to the live streams.
Well, and I'm sorry, thank you. And I'm sorry that I keep spoiling things for Hope because information. I just realized that the other day. I was like, oh man, I bet he hates it. Like every time I pop in, I'm just dropping, outside information.
I think you've been careful enough. I mean, look, I can't be a juror, right? Like, so the process here is to not dive into the primary source material and try to just let stuff that comes in glide off.
I don't know if you guys are big wrestling fans, but there is a strain of people who watch wrestling, and it's called #kayfabe only. Right, and kayfabe is the fake world of wrestling, and you don't read any of the backstage reports. You don't listen to any of the news. You only want the world of wrestling that is presented on the television program.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's #kayfabe only, and that's how Rick wants to live this trial. He's just only within the bounds. And one thing
I love it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say I love it because he becomes like a bellwether for what the jury is thinking. So it's great. Back to you, Mark. What were you gonna say?
I just want to say about the LSAT.
At least it's an interesting experience.
The best advice I got from the LSATs that worked incredibly for me, and I don't know if Ian test prepped it, would agree with this. But on the reading comprehension sections, they offer you a bunch of different, questions just all over the map. If you come up with a little symbol system for the type of questions, because there's only like 6 or 7 types of questions. There's parallelism. There's, like which type it is. If you go through and take the first 2 minutes to go through and read what the actual question prompt is and mark the type of question, whether it's an analogy or a parallelism or faulty, and then go back through and do only those questions at a time, you will able to put your brain in the same mindset that you don't have to go back and forth between types of questions. That absolutely helped me, and it was worth the 2 minutes time by far and made it a lot easier. I don't know if other people have used that, but it was a huge boon to me. And same with Ian, it goes to say, but I did well. I wouldn't
You all
be
are
doing
so
that
much
today.
fancier than me.
What I would, the way I used to do them is just that if you've done enough of those, they're very much constructed prompts. They're not like the LSAT reading comprehension stuff is not. They don't just like pull a book off a shelf. They're written by a team, and so after you've done a bunch of them, you start noticing like, okay, this part here is probably going to be a question. And so I read through everything, like read through the thing and just flag stuff. Okay, they're comparing these two. One of these things is this way, one of these things is the other. I'll just mark that's a little comparison. And then when I get to the questions, I've been thinking about it. I've got this sort of structural notion. But when I hit that comparison question, I'm just like, right, that's this paragraph and good to go. You're going to need to figure out sort of strategies that work for you. The other thing I always caution people about is that I love being a lawyer, but I will tell you that there's a lot of people who hate it, and it's really easy for lawyers to box themselves into places where they don't want to be, especially if you've got huge debts and you got to pay those off whether or not you continue being a lawyer or not. So, I mean, think about what you want to do. A lot of the money has come out of law. The distribution of who gets paid what is very much uneven. So there's people who make huge money, and there's people who make like surprisingly bad money in law. And you got to think like, is this something I really want to do? Is this something I'm going to enjoy? Because if you're talking about working at a firm and you're going to be spending, your weekends and working late into the night working on stuff, you sure as heck better enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, law's got a tremendous burnout rate. And so here in Canada, I always tell people the starting place is to read the Canadian Constitution. And I don't mean the Charter of Rights. I mean the whole Constitution, talking about we are a country and here's how we set up, our various assets. And a lot of it is boring. But if you can get through it, you can get through law school. If you can't get through it and you hate that, you probably will struggle through law school and hate being a lawyer. And if you get to the end of, reading that, you've got all sorts of
And stepsister, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
those are all the kinds of things that like you get to really hear about. It's like all the issues from all over the years. Yeah. Or are you cool with being, being away from all the people and being like strictly like patents, like facts, data.
And there are some really cool areas of law, like, and the problem is that a lot of the really cool stuff also probably includes some of the really boring stuff. Like,
Yeah.
virtual legality. We're talking like a whole bunch of neat video game stuff. And a whole
tried.
lot of it's going to be transactional stuff. So, the neat aspect of like a video, working for a video game company also means that you might end up hashing out commas in a contract. And, that think about that. Like, do you really want to spend the lawyers I found who are happiest, some of them are people who have who are making less money than they could because they're doing stuff that matters to them. Some of them are people who have hammered out their own sort of niche. It's so I
Do you like
don't
the shade I'm
like
getting from
seeing
being a
when
co-counsel?
people are unhappy. That's kind of my
so
thing.
here's a we'll leave it with the super chat. This is Duchess of Dissent says, I am a law professor and practicing lawyer. This is a stressful, difficult career, especially if you are a litigator. It needs to
Yep.
be a calling, what you have always wanted to do. And I completely agree. Regardless of what
Yeah.
area of law you do, generally speaking, it should be some kind of a calling.
For the
This was all to
record,
Colonel Kurtz's mom, right? We were all directing this as saying Kurtz took the right path. There's no money in
Yes.
law anymore, and everybody's burnt out. Kurtz was right.
So-
Okay.
Well, so one thing that's funny too is that my mom, when she was trying to get me to be a lawyer, she had me go and talk to a friend of hers who was a really successful attorney in town. And so I went, and the idea was that this person was going to convince me to go to law school.
a practicing lawyer.
A practicing lawyer, right? And so I sat down with him, and he said, "Well, what are you thinking about doing other than law?" And I said, "Oh, I want to be a Shakespeare professor." And he said, "I think you should try to be a Shakespeare professor."
That's, I mean, any practicing lawyer, it's almost a joke. I actually get upset at them saying this to like first year associates and things, because everybody likes to put on a cynical air and is, oh, sorry that you're in the practice and all this stuff. But like practicing lawyer, you go and talk to them, most of them are going to say, what else you got going on?
Yeah. Yep.
Because it's a rough job. And by the way, Ian, I joked that you were casting shade at my job. Ian is 1,000% right. So much of my time is, no, it needs a semicolon, and describing the same indemnity provision that I've fought over for 20 years now. And just for the record, while you're evaluating this at home, I spent a lot of time on YouTube and making videos, which is not that, for a reason. Part of it's to market the firm, sure, but because I like it. And this is something different from that, most definitely.
Yep.
And,
Yatsney or Jatsney says, assuming JD wins the case, do you think the same result would have occurred if the legal team switched sides, i.e. Rottenborn for JD and Chu for AH?
It's a hilarious question.
You know, lawyers have skills, but facts at the end of the day are gonna rule the day. That's what I'll say about that.
And as much
Kelsey
we're
Blanc?
talking about client-driven, you know, they're doing how the clients behave. It's very possible that the attorneys would be behaving differently, depending on who the client was.
Yeah. Kelsey Blanc says, can someone explain if Morgan Tremaine will be in any legal trouble after testifying? Wouldn't he be worried of being blacklisted as a journalist?
He might be done with it. He might be done with it. This cat might be over it.
Yeah, I mean, journalism also has a lot of people who bow out. But I mean, I don't know what contractual agreements he's got, and so it's possible that he could be looking at a lawsuit at the end of the day.
Could be.
Well, they didn't cite any, which might have been useful. So they
Okay.
went on
NDA, though.
they went on basic employee terms in that motion. So he could be taking on risk.
I suspect that
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of employees at TMZ who are going to get told, "Hey, by the way, we've got a new agreement we want everyone to sign."
We got a new. That's exactly what'll happen.
Well said, Ian.
Oh, man. And also, we've got James from court here. James, how's it going?
Hey, how are y'all?
Good. So there's been a lot going on in the court today. Can you tell us? My number one question is, what was Whitney Henriquez's face looking like when Amber was making some faces when Johnny was talking about Whitney and Amber's relationship?
Yeah, so I could only see the back of her head, to be honest,
Right.
but it was doing a lot of movement. I will say that. Her hair was, and then the lawyer would make a lot of shake heads, like she'd shake her head a lot and she'd write stuff down and show it over to Whitney. So there was definitely, they were definitely trying to make the appearance like they didn't like, what Johnny was talking about.
Yeah. By the way, Noli Marie, thank you very much for this very generous super chat. Okay, so you were sitting behind Whitney today, then?
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Oh yeah, directly behind her. Okay, so I will say it's interesting. Ever since that one day that she sat next to me and that picture came out, they'd never put her in that row anymore. She now always sits with the lawyers or the front.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So.
And I wonder. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. So yeah, she was in the front today.
Okay. Okay. So I was gonna say, I wonder if that was because they decided, well, she's no longer subject to recall. She's not gonna be testifying anymore. It's not like she can get information from people. And so, they can kind of consider her part of the legal team as a result. I don't know. I'm very curious as to how they determine who's part of the legal team and who's not. If Eve Barlow wasn't, um, and then she was kicked out for that. I'm not sure. Not sure. But anyhow, so what else could you glean from the testimony today from the jury? Were they interested in what Johnny was saying? Were they interested in? I mean, who else did we see testify today? Oh, Kate Moss.
Kate Moss. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we started out strong. I think it definitely was interesting. There was not a sleepy eye for sure when Kate Moss was testifying. I mean, even though that was quick and there was no cross, I think it was critical. It basically refuted everything Amber had said. They made the point that she said it 3 times, so, and then for Kate Moss to basically say that Johnny not only helped her after that, but had nothing bad to say. Said nothing about him being violent or aggressive, anything towards her or that she knew of. I mean, it basically cut through everything Amber's team has said, because Amber didn't have any Johnny's friends to come forward and say, oh yeah, I've witnessed Johnny beat a woman before, or Johnny's ex-girlfriends to say, yeah, there was a time where he threw, I mean, besides the one woman who said that she threw the bottle in the direction of a group of people and it probably had nothing to do with her because he was actually having a fight with them. You know what I mean? Besides for that one time, it's not like, Amber brought another ex-girlfriend that had said, oh yeah, he like threw a bottle at me or hit me in the face or something. So I think having Kate Moss there and I said this earlier, because half of the jury is over the age of 45, Kate Moss is someone who they'll be very familiar with. They'll remember her very well. I think that's like,
Ouch.
no, I'm sorry. It's just like, no, anyway, I don't,
He's
what
kidding.
I mean.
He's
But like,
kidding.
the
He's just giving you a hard time.
Some of the juries, like in their young, like 20, 21, they probably won't. She's not like Kendall, Kendall Jenner or something like that. But like, she was of a certain generation. So like the people who like on the jury who remember her will see her and be like, wow, like that brings back memories. And I think there's a level of credibility, even though she's a supermodel and stuff. I think she's always, had a very classy career and things like that. Maybe, I don't know.
James, you just
This-
hurt
this
Rob
makes
in
me
the most
sad.
painful way.
Oh,
This
no,
makes me
Rob, I'm
sad.
sorry.
Kate Moss was like, I mean, she was the supermodel. Like,
What in like
Yep.
the
Mark
80s
Robin
or the
Rick are
90s? In
sad.
like the 90s, right?
I know.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, the before times. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was before iPhones, okay? There was no Twitter.
oh my God, James,
I mean, iPhones were not that long
There was
ago.
no Twitter. Prehistory to James is there was no Twitter. Thank you.
James,
Oh,
James.
wow.
See, I come from the day when we used to have to bring quarters with us to school to call our parents afterwards. On what we used to
Even
have was
I
a
remember that.
payphone.
Even I do remember that.
Even
What's a
Alita
quarter?
jumps in to make us feel worse.
Just
Sorry.
dial
No,
collect.
because usually the divide is between me and you guys, but on that one I'm like, no, I'm with you guys on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. The collect one call. Like,
Yeah,
you
just
never
dial
got a call
collect
from-
and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, mom, please come pick me up.
Yep. Yeah, that's how you get out of the quarter. Just call collect and say your name is Hi Mom, pick me up.
Yep.
Okay, so James, how did the jury respond when Johnny said basically Mr. Rotten ... born? How did he respond? How did they respond to that?
Not much. I mean, I think that was just one of his, I think the audience responded more to that, that was
Okay.
kind of like for, his theatrics. The jurors who like him, I think that'll be something that'll just be like, oh, haha, that was a funny Johnny move. But again, they're a very serious jury, and I think they want to be very professional and take it, as serious as they can. So they don't do a lot of expressions unless it's something that's like, something that they see as completely unbelievable or it really touches them emotionally in some ways. Like Juror 8 today nodded and smiled when Johnny was talking about how he donates to charity and doesn't really care about his name. That's why it's not all over the place that he's donating, you know, all his like $100,000, $10,000 or whatever, because that doesn't matter. She really liked that and smiled. But so it's very sparing that they'll really make facial expressions, you know, especially at a time like that, which seems to be more.
A big supporter of LeBron. There's some craziness going on right now online aimed at Bronny Jr.
Right.
And you know, people are criticizing his prom date.
People would rather you be miserable with someone of your own race than you be in love with someone of a different race. It is so utterly ridiculous. I read the comments.
Yeah.
People need to get a life. Let that man be happy. I get it. But if that's not what brings him joy, if that's not what brings him happiness, who are you to tell him who he should be?
For like, you know, his kind of like persona.
Yeah. Okay. So, because we were starting to get concerned that the his quips and his responses were maybe getting a little bit too far out there for what could play for a jury. But I don't know if there was any kind of a reaction that you could see from the jury as those continued. Like, was he reading the room with the jury, or was he just kind of getting ahead of himself there?
Well, he wasn't staring them down. I can say that.
That's true.
That's a start. And I mean, I don't think he was. He doesn't do a great job at reacting, like especially in court when he's sitting there. You know how he just doodles and stuff. Like they do look at him because they want to see his reactions, and I don't think, you know, he'll stare people down sometimes, kind of menacingly. He'll kind of, you know,
guns shouldn't be as easily accessible. Like it's easier to get a gun than baby formula right now. That's unbelievable. And you know, this country that we live in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Will you save time to cross JD or TMZ guy?
If NFL quarterbacks went fishing.
Red
90.
Red 90. Go.
Hicksville happening thing is pretty regular.
Mr. Depp, this is the picture that your counsel showed you both in your prior, or showed you this morning, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that mark under your left eye is what you claim to be a black eye caused by misheard, correct?
Seems to be there's some scratches around my nose as well.
Okay. All right, but it's your left eye, the one close to the chef. That's what you says your black eye, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was the picture your team chose to show you, right? Let's pull up exhibit 1905, Michelle, please.
I'm sorry, which number was it?
This is a new exhibit, Your Honor, 1905.
That's defendants.
Defendants exhibit 1905.
Okay, thank you.
Ask for permission to publish, Your Honor.
Oh, you want to put it in evidence? Okay, any objection to 1905?
With the comments, we have no objection to the photograph itself. We would ask the comments be redacted as hearsay.
Well, I'd like to at least question the witness about the
I have
comments.
no objection to the photograph being published.
Okay, well, let's wait a minute. Mr. Depp, you see here, these are 4 pictures of you, right?
Yes,
Yeah, and below it, they indicate that they were taken on July 24th, 2015 in Bangkok, Thailand, correct?
Objection, lack of foundation, calls for speculation.
Overruled.
In Bangkok, Thailand, so before the train ride.
Correct, before the train ride, because you didn't get on the train ride till the 25th, is that right?
I somewhere in that area, I guess.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd ask for permission to publish this to the jury.
If it's just the photographs, we have no objection.
All right, if you want to redact the, just have the photographs in it.
Sure. We'll do 1905.
5, but just with redaction. You should be fine. There's still some bottom numbers.
Thank you, Michelle.
All right, publish.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, could you please scroll down to the bottom 2 pictures there? Mr. Depp, in these pictures that were taken before you got on the train ride for your honeymoon, where you claim that Miss Heard hit you and gave you a black eye, you have the exact same shadow or sunburn or mark under your left eye. The exact same mark, don't you?
That's the, when you get a side light, you see the occipital bone. So that is the exact area.
Yep. And it's actually...
A side light will cause that.
Yeah, well, the picture's not being taken from the side, is it? It's being taken head on, isn't it?
No. The lens in front,
yeah.
The light on the side,
right,
will cause that occipital bone, I believe it's called, to appear sunken.
Just like lights on the side of a train car, correct?
Objection calls for speculation.
You can take that down, Michelle.
That was in fact in the dark. I had a chef, I had people on either side.
Johnny, you don't need to talk.
Johnny, she's sustained the objection.
You can wait for the next question. Next question.
Next question. Even the picture your team chose to show you on that train isn't accurate, is it? Let's pull up.
Objection calls for speculation.
Let's pull up exhibit 1859, please.
1859. Is that in evidence?
No, Your Honor.
See, Johnny, expert on photoshopping, still photography, and also on lighting for still photography.
This is the same picture, the same
direct?
exact same scene displayed in PX 162 that you looked at this morning, correct?
That looks like my face has been, the eyes have been photoshopped.
Oh, okay. So this post from the Eastern and Oriental Express's Facebook page, you're saying that that's Photoshop?
Is that from their page? I would, sure, why wouldn't they?
Let's pull them up side by side, please. Your Honor, I move for the admission of this exhibit. We can just have the pictures. We don't need the...
Any objection to the picture?
Objection, lack of foundation, lack of authentication.
Is that you in the photo, Mr. Depp?
It is me, but it's clearly...
Your Honor, I'd move to strike anything after that, first of all, and would ask for admission of this photograph.
All right, just the photograph?
Yep.
You're gonna...
We maintain our lack of authentication, lack of foundation.
All right, over objection on 1859.
Thank you, Your Honor. Michelle, could I please get you to...
You need to redact it first.
We actually have one that will admit or ask to be admitted as 1858. That is just the picture.
I already have 1859.
Okay, so we'll call this 1859 then.
This is 1859.
Yeah, we just need to...
Okay.
We'll fix that exhibit sticker on the bottom and get you that correct 1859.
1859.
And Michelle, what I'd like to ask you to do, please, is to put the picture displayed as 18 59, just was admitted into evidence next to PX 162 that was shown to Mr. Depp this morning.
You can pop the supposed evidence.
Can you try to make it the same size, please? This is the exact same picture, isn't it, Mr. Depp?
Radically different quality. And
No, you answer my question.
He is.
how do you know I wasn't?
Oh, I hate this. Rottenborn is scoring so many points.
You're very well.
Mr. Depp, you had that, whatever mark it is, whether it's a sunburn, whether it's a shadow, whether it's the light reflecting, you had that same mark on your eye before you got on that train.
Well, it's pretty difficult to get a sunburn on the train. And
let's
in
go
the
to-
photographs with the child, I don't look particularly sunburned. Can we see those again?
Let's pull up exhibit one. Actually, no. Let's talk about Australia for a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah, why did we put him on?
You testified that you've never done ecstasy more than a handful of times in your life, correct?
6, 7 times.
Now, you heard Miss Heard's testimony. You've been sitting here. I know you didn't look at her, but you heard her testimony, and
Oh, I
you heard
heard
her. You didn't hear her say you ingested 8 to 10 all at once. She said she came down after being apart from you for some time, and there were 8 to 10 gone from the bag. Correct?
Objection form
What?
compound.
And misrepresents testimony.
Oh,
I also heard
Yeah.
Mr. say I reached into a bag and threw it and poured a bunch of
oh my God, this is a train wreck. This is a train wreck.
Correct. That's right. She
A
didn't say you poured
handful.
10 at one time, did she?
No, she said a handful,
Okay.
which is more than 10, I believe.
Okay. The fact is, Mr. Depp, you were asking for ecstasy.
actually two
you who
different
have only
stories.
done it 6 times in your life.
Okay.
You were asking for ecstasy and cocaine.
If NFL quarterbacks
being admitted to the hospital after